All right, baby. So we're talking about dealing with molehills in this first video. So what are we talking about when we mean dealing with the molehills?
Yeah, I'm sure we've heard often that you can make a mountain out of a molehill, right? And when you think about overcoming the molehills in your marriage or in your relationships, I really think to something that is imprinted. It could be so small, but if it's allowed to fester, right? If it's allowed to stay there for too long, it becomes this huge ordeal that can often be a divisive point in any relationship. Think about even a small wound, right? No one wants to get a wound, but if you get a small cut and you don't address it, and it's probably a deep cut, right? You don't address it, and then maybe you go outside, play in the garden, you're around people in the airport that are sneezing, and you start to get some bacteria build up and, you know, some pus and those, you know, just things nasty things, right? And over time, that infection, can really cause some harm in your body, in your bloodstream, all of those things from that one little cut.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy. Because when you think about some marriages and relationships that end, they ended because of something that more than likely started off as just a small molehill, and then it ballooned up into a mountain. Right. Just like that cut, you can address it when it's a small cut, or you can wait until it's an infection, you got MRSA and all this other crazy stuff going on. And so what would you say are some examples of these molehills and some common examples of these issues that we've seen or even experienced in our own marriage and that we see in other marriages? What are some examples?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cleanliness is a huge one, right? People talk all the time about, well, they put their toothbrush this way and I don't like it that way. Timeliness, it could be that someone's just slow even to get ready for date night or things like that. And even expression of lovingness, right? So expression of
new word for you,
right? Just that ability to just express your love to one another in a way that the other desires to receive, right? Love language, all of those type of things.
Yeah, a couple things I even think of are some of the decisions that you make as a family or as a marriage. It could be financial decisions or even decisions when it comes to your children that you can have disagreements or conflicts about. And I even think of just some of the simple things such as tone and how we speak to one another. We're going to talk about tone in a future video, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, how can we overcome these little things that, you know, we face on a day-to-day basis as a marriage? How can we unify and overcome these things together?
Yeah, one of the pieces is making sure that we don't allow the sun to go down while we're still frustrated or angry, or just have anything lingering with one another, even if you don't have time throughout the day to address it with one another, to be able to take that time to sacrifice those 5 extra minutes of sleep, right? To just stay up with one another and share so that you can be able to let go of those things and start the new day peacefully.
Yeah. That verse has so much practical and I believe literal application in terms of what it means. Like, I mean, I know there have been times where, you know, I'll stay up, you know, and keep you up.
And I'll be like, rolled over.
And I even can think of the, you know, select times or two where, you know, we haven't done that. And I didn't sleep well that night. And so, you know, just thinking of how much of an impact these little things can have if we don't address them while it's still day, so to speak.
That's good.
I think another thing is, you know, being cognizant of how we resolve those issues, making sure that we resolve them in-house. Sometimes we can be quick to air out our dirty laundry to other people. It could be family, it could be, you know, associates or friends, but we just need to be careful about who we air out our dirty laundry to.
Yeah, and I feel like that's so valid, especially in a young or new relationship, because you can easily, if you share too much about just the small irritations that you have with others, you may be getting advice that is not maybe aligned with your value system, or that's layered with an opinion from someone that hasn't actually experienced what you have.
Right. An analogy that I think of with this is a team. So think of a coach of a football team, basketball team, whatever it is. And let's say that coach is having issues with his team. They're losing, they're just doing horribly. Do you ever see a coach go out into the crowd and ask one of the spectators, hey, what should I do? Tell me how to fix, will you tell me how to fix this issue that I'm having with my team? Like, no, you don't see that. You never see a coach go to a spectator for advice. Doesn't matter how big of a fan that spectator is, doesn't matter how many games they've gone to.
How well they know the stats.
Yeah, they can know all the stats, they can know all the players, but they don't know the full ins and outs of that team. We have to be mindful of who we go to for advice, making sure that it is truly people that we can trust who are able to give wise counsel. So another thing that's key is, it's very simple, and it's just knowing when to apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a very big thing that, at times we have trouble doing.
Yeah, and there's so much pride that rises up, because if you think of, in any relationship, a lot of us have so many years of maybe doing things on our own, in our own particular way, and the moment when someone brings in a differing opinion, it's easy to want to become even more closed off to that opinion.
One thing that I've heard, and maybe some of you all have heard it before, is an apology is not necessarily an admission of fault. It's not always a saying of, I'm wrong and you're right, but it's more so a statement in which you're saying that, look, I value our marriage and our relationship above my pride and personal stands. So I think that's almost a new way in which we can look at an apology.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a way that we've definitely grown in our marriage, is to offer one another that grace, that extension and time necessary to be able to overcome through that apology. So knowing that I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, but we're willing to come together so that we can move forward.
Yep. To go with that, when we do have those conversations where we do, share with one another what it is that may be bothering us, which we do need to have. When we do that, to do it with gentleness.
Yes.
And that whoever's on the receiving end just really makes an honest effort to just empathize. Empathize with what that person is saying, and really just strive to humble yourself and to just receive, and to admit that, hey, I'm not perfect, we're both growing, I'm growing, and you can both grow together.
Right. So when we talk about all these things, just want to be reminded of not going to bed angry, right? Being reminded of making sure, as you shared,
dressed in shoes in house.
Yep. Exactly. And then being able to give the apology.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger if you allow it.
That's a good word.
Or allow it to make you stronger. Come on.